Hello, 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 and good morning, everyone. I apologize. My apologies, really, for not being here the last couple of months. I started training for AAU. I made a national team, and then I went to team trials, and immediately after AAU team trials, I went to Philippines for the Asia Open, and I got third place there. And now I'm back. I thought about stuff I want to do. I still have SEA games for the Philippines. And besides that, though, I do know I want to be putting out more video content, help you guys out with that, and keep that line of things going on. I do have new equipment coming in, so I ordered a mic, I ordered a back stand, so you guys don't have to see my bedroom anymore. Um, and I really plan on putting out these videos every week in the future to continuously help you guys who are able to watch. So if you guys are still tuning in, I really, really much appreciate it. I was coming across the reason I picked this video is because I was coming across I was thinking about my own fights and where I can improve. And if you want to improve, then one of the best things to do is just watch the people who play the game and watch them play at the best level. Figure out where your differences are between theirs, difference in strategies, etc., etc. And then I came across this fight, which was I think the most recent Grand Prix. Roma Larin has been one of the top guys for a while. Zabarov was the 2016 Olympian for Kazakhstan. I actually was at the qualifier that he qualified at, and we ended up not fighting each other, but he made it in. And yeah, so let's get into it. First off the bat, I was looking at who had fought these people. Doesn't surprise me. Larin got the bye. He's probably number one seed. I was surprised he beat Atesli. Atesli is a guy who's up and coming. Mardani's been fighting for a while, and Emily, I haven't been watching too closely, but I haven't. It's kind of a newer name to me. He might be the middleweight. But I was very surprised to see Atesli down here 7-0. Good job by Larin there. I have the sound off because they have the announcer on, and it was kind of distracting to me to have his voiceover as I was also doing my voiceover, so I cut him out completely. This one, Stewart, I know Stewart's a very strong fighter. Kyung Dun. This doesn't surprise me. They're both Kyung Dun is very defensive. This is one of the first times I saw this name, but barely went over him. So good job over there. And I was very surprised to see this Cho fight though. This is a bigger discrepancy than I thought was going to happen. Anyway, so let's move forward toward the fight. So what do I know about each of these people? Ka Kazakhstan has a lot of a left leg. He has a right leg flicked to the face, I believe, and his left leg on the out end has been one of his main weapons. Larin kind of fights Russian style, where he'll kind of figure out, at least in my opinion, they kind of figure out what your main go-to is, and then they launch a bunch of variables against that, and usually those score. And we'll see in this one, it does score and pays off for him. But what I liked about this video and why I thought it was also important is because you can see a clear change in tempo, especially from the first and second round going into the third. And I really like the offense that Russia mounts in the third round. So we're gonna watch how he sets kind of the pace of the game in the first two rounds, and then in the third round, he like opens the floodgates, so to speak. Da-da. Let's see if I can do a little bit of sound. We'll see if it's not too. Yeah, there we go. His voice is very prominent. Open with cut normal. What I also notice about my videos, I may post my videos actually in the future just so you can see kind of how I pick myself apart and how I break down my opponents. Maybe after I retire. Uh, what I noticed right off the bat is these guys stand super like they open with cuts, etc. But they're sitting super close together. So what does that tell me about my game? It tells me that I need to be more comfortable standing in the pocket. Like if he stepped his foot out like half an inch right here, he could step on his opponent's foot. Like that's how close these guys are standing. And okay, the voice is starting to get annoying. They're super close together. So what I take away from that from my game is I need to get more comfortable standing in the pocket. and being defensively strong there. Now, a side note, kind of a meta note, is I think they may be standing this close because on the KP&P systems, it's especially easy to score defensively, as is with all both Dado and KP&P. But especially with KP&P, a lot of the flick stuff that works on Dado, like the backside flick down, that works a lot more in Dado than it does in KP&P. I've seen it score very rarely in KP&P, but most often it doesn't. So they might be saving this score to kind of bait the opponent to kick first, so they can counter kick and have their momentum going another kick, which makes it easier to score. And that's why I would assume they're this close and they've gotten comfortable fighting it this close, especially during training, because you need to bait your opponent to kick first. That's my initial take. You hear a lot of poking and prodding. Um, Also notice that a lot of the stuff is kicked in place. Kazakhstan went to the head earlier, but very so far now it's turning it up a little bit more. But before it was a lot of single, see what he does, single, see what he does, and I believe that's still a lot to the point of I want them to kick. Like if I'm gonna poke you just a little bit, so that way you can commit on a kick, and then I'll score defensively. Kazakhstan noticed Larin's not really responding too much to the initial poke, so if you're not going to follow up that way, or if you're not going to follow up after I'm done kicking, I'll just try and score for something after that. Yeah, these guys are both super close. Jockeying for position in the clinch, but not really. Yes, they're like yeah, they're both just it's so interesting to me that they're willing to stand in the pocket this close. Not too much going on. Trying to look for a cut. That would have been a pretty good place to fall. But that's kind of where I think that's where Kazakhstan wants Russia, or where Russia wants Kazakhstan is after this initial kick. I think we passed it back here. After this initial kick, there was opportunity to follow up. Like Kazakhstan's off balance. Boom. Larin comes in here. Boom. And that's ideally almost initially where you want your opponent is to be a little bit off balance in distance. And Kazakhstan, I'm not sure why I didn't commit to it, but that would have been a good follow up to the face defensively right there. Nice punch. Uh, no score, but it also came out fast. In heavyweight game, what I noticed was punches score a lot more because for some reason the power threshold for heavyweights is like as they increase the power threshold on the Hogu, it's not scalable to the amount of power that people with heavier weights are kicking. So fin fly, feather, it's like about even, and then as it get a little bit heavier, it seems like the threshold surpasses where people are starting to generate power from the kicks. So punches are super viable in heavier weight divisions. It's a pretty good setup. I'm gonna skip forward because it's a lot of instead of kicking one block, kick for one. All they end up doing is starting to close in on each other more often because I believe it's to set up a punch or to set up the idea that I'm just gonna come in and clinch on you because you're not moving back, and that sets up things for head kicks, traps, etc., etc. Fast forward a little bit, it's still 0-0. It remains 0-0 for majority of the fight until the third round. Blah, blah. I'm gonna watch this in 1.5 for you guys. So like here, like the last 10, 15 seconds, not too much action is going on. That's not even that committed. Blah, blah. They're standing super close. They're perfectly fine letting it go to the second round. Nice try there. I wish I could somehow turn down. I don't have the audio equipment to turn down like the guy's voice, but to keep my voice up. So this is kind of where we're stuck at, guys. Still a lot of singles. Nice try there. So Kazakhstan's starting to follow up now because he feels like superiority wise, that's where he's gonna have to open it up. Because Russia, for the most part, has just been canceling and blocking on the initial kick. So another way to create openings is to follow up, which is what Kazakhstan is doing now. If, if it doesn't work on the first kick, and especially an international game, or if you're fighting someone very good, your first kick probably is going to score because everyone's initial defense is strong. What tends to score, especially as you get higher levels, if you're not caught right at the line, is you're going to have to follow up. And sometimes that's what it comes down to. So like sometimes you're fighting someone and the initial defense is good, and so you have to just like muscle through that initial defense to get through where they're more vulnerable. And that's what Kazakhstan's trying to capitalize on now. Feels like Larin's not showing too much defensively, open a little bit more in the clinch. Besides that initial cut, like he hasn't really shown too much. So the answer would be to try and follow up and capitalize. I think he's trying to go for a punch there. Nice try. Nice punch setup. I actually think I actually think that it's Russia who hit the punch properly. Russia hit the punch properly here, but because it was Kazakhstan on the offense and because he kind of showed like when you're in that stance, it's kind of more it's kind of telegraphing to the judges like I can punch from here, and he sure enough he does. And I think it's actually Russia who hits with the punch. Let's watch this in point five. I think they hit each other's fist actually is what it looks like. That's why the hand went down like that. So it's because Kazakhstan stepped forward with his arm cocked back like that that the other judge was like, oh, he's about to punch. And so because they hit, and it so happened that I think they hit each other's hands, or even that Russia may have actually hit the punch. Because Kazakhstan telegraphed he was going to punch, they assumed that the pop came from Kazakhstan. So that's why I'm a proponent of like when you're fighting or if you're gonna punch, telegraph you're about to punch. Like make it a big motion that you draw your hand up, etc. So that way all the judges like, oh, he's gonna punch. I better push that button, especially if you hear something. So that's why he gets. I believe that's why he gets the punch. Also, another note: it's an interesting, it's a good idea that if your opponent cancels a lot or likes to stand in place, a good offense to throw against that is to punch because they're not moving back anywhere. It gets really awkward if you're trying to punch and they slide back, then you have to like overextend and it's all weird. But if they're standing in place, so they like to cancel, the variation three punch where you cancel first and then punch, or the variation two where you just handle the front leg and punch is really, really good options. It's a good job to Kazakhstan for finding an answer to Russia's defense there. Nice try. Good try by Russia there to try and capitalize on Kazakhstan using most of his front leg. I don't really know about this call right here, but it's whatevs. I think it's video replay against the call. Good try. What I like here too is as soon as he got phased out, or he got kicked out, so here tries to cut, loses some ground. He stays on ground. Here he loses ground. As soon as he's done losing ground, boom, boom, he loses some ground. As soon as he's done there, he actually slides back in, and it may not be that significant to some people, but I think that's a very just polished move by a top fighter to retake the distance that you lost, especially if there's no follow up. And what that does also is that also puts the mental pressure back on him. Um, it makes him a little bit more tense, a little bit more, edges him a little bit more toward what's it called? Toward being defensive in this situation, and that mental shift is something you can use to trap people very easily. I mean, Russia here like didn't really do that much after he just got there, but what it does is also is it makes him, like I said, it makes him tense and it doesn't make him think about the offense. So this when he sets up like that, um, you can if like let's say the game is close and you retake distance like that for a few seconds, your opponent's gonna be like, "Holy cow, what's this person coming with?" And so that you can buy yourself a little bit of time that way. Now they're both trying to find openings in the follow up because I feel the game's opening up a little bit more. Russia's already showing kind of signs that he knows that this is the main weapon of Kazakhstan is this front leg here. And what it also does, because he's spinning, if I remember correctly, to counter the punch, usually the arm is up this way, so this whole section is open. That's something that sometimes is viable to counter the punch with. How do I get this off there? There we go. Good job by Kazakhstan trying to what's it called? Trying to capitalize on the follow up when Russia's off balance. One more time. Boom. He's especially after he slipped the kick. Good time to follow up. Nice try for the punch. And it should be a gamjang, right? Yeah, 2-1. He got the gamjang. Time. Okay, so first round, a lot of feeling each other out. Second round, it seemed like they both read the defense was just stand there or intercept or cancel in place, and so the answer to that, one of the answers by Kazakhstan here was to punch. Um, Larin's answer, you can kind of see now as he's starting to spin underneath the first initial cancel, and both sides are following up, especially after they feel like they've slipped the first defense. So if someone's standing in place against you, those are answers you can do. Standing in place using their front leg, answers a punch, answers you can spin underneath, or just do the front leg, and once you feel like you've passed that front leg, follow up. Moving forward, moving forward. Third round. I really wish I could play this with some volume, but like this guy's announcer's voice, man. Playing on the line. Oh, nice try. I forgot he did that in this round. Boom. Jam that front leg and immediately launch the out in. Why was that a good option? Like, this isn't just random technique out of nowhere, right? This is premeditated. And the reason this technique is good and I'm very impressed with it is because the entire defense, like I just said, of Kazakhstan has been to stand in place or to cancel. There's very few times they're giving ground for moving back. So if they're going to stand in place there or they're going to try and cancel their front leg, which is exactly what Kazakhstan did here, Russia said that's fine. His leg is in the air. It's going to be pretty hard for you to defend this. And that was a very good attempt. Kazakhstan lead back a little bit, which good job of him for evading. But that kind of trap is stuff you guys you can think about. If they're standing in place, they're going to be there for it. Set a trap for it. Kazakhstan. Okay, so let me rewind 1 second here. I'll explain how this is playing out. Russia offense. Russia here the offense. Kazakhstan's double, like his double or bullet kick here, isn't, in my opinion, isn't to really score. It's to reclaim the assertiveness in the match. And if he didn't do that, so if he doesn't do that, and Russia sets a trap like this, he sets here he cuts, he sets the trap, he does that, and Kazakhstan doesn't respond. Russia feels more confident in the next engage to mount an attack because he doesn't. It's like Kazakhstan's it kind of shows that you'd be so stunned you're not willing to throw offense anymore because you're worried about the traps. That kind of builds Russia's confidence. So this minor thing here after the trap almost got hit there. Boom. That for me isn't really to score. It's just to like kind of throw this guy off me a little bit. I don't want him pressuring the whole match. I want to have some control of the match. So that's more to us regain the assertiveness in the match. So that way Russia knows and uh, so it kind of lets Russia know like you're not going to be bullying me this match. Nice try. Ooh, that wrapped pretty far around, dude. That was very close. Kazakhstan trying to follow up now, especially after he slips a kick. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have also noticed this. It's been 17 seconds from the start of the match. There's been 4 attacks since then, so 18 seconds. So that's like every 3 or 4 seconds, and every single one of the attacks so far has been against Kazakhstan's front leg. Um, this clinch, the cut, the to move into the clinch out in. The last, what's it called? And then the last couple, what is it? The last couple of traps, Russia's been trapping against the front leg. And the fifth trap, it's been 25, 20, 23 seconds. The next trap has been against the front leg. So at this point, if someone's trapped this many times against your front leg, it's probably a good idea to not use that leg anymore for a little bit until you've given them another variable to deal with to try and handle. In my opinion, do not do that. If someone traps 4 or 5 times against your front leg, you need to throw your back leg, even if your back leg sucks, because you need to make them think you can't do that anymore. Tries it again. Okay, so if he had lifted the front leg here, this would be coming in on the open side. Here, yeah, if he had lifted there, he would have traded the body shot for the attempt at the head. Still all against this right front leg. 1, 2, 3. No. Changing a little bit. So Kazakhstan actually still hasn't changed his defense, which is really worrisome to me that he didn't do that. I would definitely suggest that if someone's been trapping that many times against your or her front leg, you need to change your front leg. Um, oh my God, this has been like the sixth attack against that front leg. So I also noticed that Russia likes to throw this variable offense. I call it a variable offense because it's like you have the one defense, and then these are 3 or 4 different answers against that offense, and you can they're not throwing them 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. It's like 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, and so like no matter what if you keep lifting this front leg, you're gonna have to deal with a different kind of trap every single time that occurs. And I noticed this against I forgot. I think this is the Russian welter, the lightweight. He was fighting Finland, and unfortunately he lost. But the offense he mounted was amazing. It was everything against that front leg, and he was using 3 different attacks against that front leg, and he's kept rotating through. It was just very unfortunate that he didn't score. But like overall decision making, I feel like that's why these Russian players are playing at the high levels because they spend the first 2 rounds to kind of figure out what your main weapon is. If you trap the main weapon, which he did in the second round, he did the back kick like two or 3 times. Uh, Kazakhstan still uses front leg, which kind of told Russia if we trap him against his front leg, it doesn't seem like he's gonna adjust his game. So if you do one thing, I adjust, and you haven't adjusted or done anything different, well, I'm just gonna stay one step ahead of you this whole time and do that. Also, another thing to note is it's only been 45 seconds, and there have been like 8 or 9 exchanges, which means there's been exchange every 4 or 5 seconds. And the reason that's significant is because if you're trapping someone, you don't want them to think. And how do you stop them from thinking? You apply a lot of pressure and you attack them often, or you make them rely on their instinct very often. Um, so this is super important. So let's say you're against someone and you want to do this gameplay, and you do it, and then another 10 seconds goes by, and then you try it again, and another 5 to 10, 5, 8, 10 seconds go by, and you try it again. In those 5, 8, 10 seconds, this guy has a lot of time to think and adjust to what you're doing. If you attack him every 4 seconds, that's not that much time to think. It's really not a lot of time. And what ends up happening is if you don't have a lot of time to think, or your opponent doesn't have a lot of time to think, most of the time they're going to go to their main go-to weapon, and ideally that's what you're trapping for, and that's what you want them to use. So this kind of gameplay or this kind of trapping does not work as effectively if you're going after like every 8 seconds, and you're letting them reset and rethink about the different things they can do. If you're going every 3 to 4 seconds, 3, 4, 5 seconds, which is kind of what's happening here, um, you kind of keep them on the offense, and you don't give them that much time to adjust or to try and one up what you're doing. They're trying to just make sure they're not getting scored on. So the amount of variables that Russia's throwing and the amount of time that Russia's taking from the decision making process of Kazakhstan is really, really good. And it's something you guys, I think, could implement in your gameplay. And I know for myself too, like since I saw the tournament coming up, this is being able to stand that close and open up in the third round with that kind of timing and stuff. I'm going to be looking to try and add into my game as well. Dude, you need to not use this front leg anymore, dude. That's like the seventh or eighth trap in less than a minute. Like at this time, it's like not. Ooh, I was not sure I had to follow up. This also is a nice like. Imagine he canceled here, or even if he lifted, that's a flick body face. That's another good trap against the front leg. Oh man. Also, this he has a lot of stuff in his arsenal against that front leg. Like that's he's throwing the Notabon, he's throwing a hook kick, he's throwing a back kick, he's throwing the body face. Like he has so many weapons, which is why Larin's one of the top heavyweights in the world. Um, Against the front leg, like holy cow. Oh, let's try. Almost scored. So I want you guys to notice this. Even though Russia is not scoring, I want you guys to think about it over a larger span of games. Like this will eventually score, um, and I want you guys to take that away not as like, oh, that's a bad idea. Like these are all really good ideas. It's just he's unable to score right now, so a little bit of adjustment technique. Maybe the sensor's a little bit off. It's small, minor tweaks to the overall strategy, and the strategy is good. It's just the small techniques in the execution haven't been connecting. But we'll see eventually where this turns out. Kazakhstan's this right leg play by him, the cut into this flick body face has been a weapon of his since before as well. I think since 2014. This guy's world military. He played in the world military games. I watched him fight again in Asia Championships, and this is like one of his main techniques is a flick body face, where his legs almost vertical. Good job to Kazakhstan to reassert himself here because he's been doing everything defensively. Nice trap there. And as soon as Russia's off balance, he capitalizes to secure what he can of his lead. Small minor good takeaway from Kazakhstan right there. If you guys are being attacked, also a good idea to mount offense score, especially because the defense of someone who's attacking a lot is not going to be that high. Like Russia's been coming in this whole time. He's super satisfied, setting the traps repeatedly, and so far this last whole minute, Kazakhstan's been on the defensive. So any kind of offense is kind of come as a surprise to Larin, and it did, and he scored. Oh my gosh, dude! I feel like that just hit him in the face, and the sensor didn't score. But this is what I've been saying, dude. Larin's throwing variable after variable after variable against Kazakhstan's front leg, and Kazakhstan is still using that front leg. So between the two of them, even if Larin were to lose this match 7-1, this kind of gameplay is the kind of gameplay I feel like is going to succeed more often in the future than um, Kazakhstan strategies, which he's great at getting his points, but like he needs to adjust with that back leg. Nice try. Ooh, nice try. Mounting that offense there. So I mean, from as a Kazakhstan perspective, this kind of changed. He's been shooting sure shots this whole time. I don't I don't really fault that much with this decision to try and do a short choppy kick. My only problem with this is that Larin's whole game plan this whole time has been against your front leg, dude. Like the whole time has been against the front leg. If you use it with his back leg and started cutting like that and he got scored on, like, I mean, that was a good answer, but and this is a slightly different look than what he's been doing, but it's still his front leg, man. Like that's why Larin chapped this so easily. That was a nice short back kick, and he knows it scored. It's really just, dude, you need to not. message was not received that your front leg has been scouted. So I think there might be a video replay here about the. Also, look how much more tired Kazakhstan is against Larin right now. Larin's been the one kicking, right? He's been the one doing the full kicks. He's the one been spinning. He's the one been attempting the more head kicks, etc. He's also down points right now. But the reason Kazakhstan's so tired is because he's mounting the offensive pressure. And defensively, even though physically it's not, actually, I would say it's more mentally draining than anything, but physically, because you're defensive, like you're a lot more tense than the guy who's relaxed mounting his offense. Which is why in this situation, even though Larin's been kicking a lot more, this Russian player has been kicking a lot more, Kazakhstan's the one who's tired. Video replay, video replay. Da, 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 da. Okay, so it stays, which I'm not surprised about. Good try on the punch. For Kazakhstan, I don't really blame that because Larin's been spinning and trapping his front leg, so changing the offense you're going to use, not a bad idea. Larin seeing the same opportunity, punch also, not a bad idea. Oh, good job on the reset, man. As soon as it... Oh, wait, hold on. This is also an interesting timing you can use. So reset, right? Boom. As soon as the hand goes up, a lot of times people aren't prepared. In this case, what so happened was Larin was actually very prepared and went for that punch. Not bad. So Kazakhstan's finally changing what he's doing now because the score is tied. I'm not sure what he was doing before or why he didn't think that this situation was going to happen earlier in the match, but now he's changing his offense. He's throwing punches, he's throwing doubles, which I think he should have done after the first 5 traps. Like after the first 5 traps, it's pretty obvious they got what your defense is, dude. Punch, boom, nice try. Dude, so Kazakhstan is desperately trying to change up the variables now. The game kind of got a little bit away from him. Oh, nice follow up here. Dang. Good follow up by Larin there. Oh, that was close too. So part of the reason now too, it's why Kazakhstan's so desperate is because now that the table has turned, Larin it can go on defense if he wants to. Kazakhstan has to mount an offense. Besides the initial cancel that Russia was doing like in the beginning of the match, Kazakhstan doesn't know what other defensive weapons Russia's actually sitting on. Now he's throwing all these other variables out: cut, a punch, and now he's just sticking away with the cut. He has all these defensive traps, and I think if Kazakhstan had changed his game plan earlier, thrown doubles, thrown some kind of other look after the first 3, 4, or 5 traps, this situation wouldn't have happened because it'll force Larin. If he had thrown a double 6, let's say after the 5th trap, and then he started again and he threw a back leg, then Larin has to reevaluate the way he's trapping. And so that'll buy Kazakhstan a couple more seconds, eat away at Larin's clock a little bit, and it'll stall Larin's traps. But for the majority of the third round, Kazakhstan did not change what he was doing and therefore eventually lost. Okay. And so main takeaways, especially for this one, is I think for me, I need to stand a lot closer to my opponents and get used to doing that. But for everyone else who's watching this match, if you're going to trap, there can't be too long in between your traps. Larin made a good job, especially in the first like 1/4 of the third round, to trap very often against that single front leg What he did do, which I liked also, was in the second round, he started scouting already, like within a minute. They started spinning against the front leg, and Kazakhstan did not adjust. So if you're fighting someone, that's a strategy you can use. I know Korea does this in the last 15 seconds, where they'll throw some technique they think can be your counter, and if it was close to hitting, they're going to use that in the third round for sure. Um, so that's something you can do when you're as you're fighting. Like first 1.5 rounds, one round, and or second round, 30 seconds left. Feel free to try some kind of trap against what you think you might use in the third round. And then in the third round, if they had no answer for that or if it was close, dude, shove that answer down their throat, which is what Larin did here. So not too long between your traps. I like the variable offense or that trap offense that Larin did. He had like 5 or 6 answers for the front leg, and he kept throwing them in rotations to keep Kazakhstan guessing. And then on the vice versa side, if someone is trapping against you multiple times, you need to not use that weapon. Like I don't know if you got to change your stance, use your other leg, if you got to use your back leg, whatever. But if someone's trapping your front this a single weapon repeatedly, you need to not use that weapon for a little bit and give them other variables to deal with. And then later, after you've given them other variables, you can throw that in there every now and then as a surprise. But definitely don't rely on it as much as what had happened here. Um, I think that's it, guys. I'll be posting more videos. Keep a lookout for those. If you guys are still with me, I really appreciate it. I apologize for being out for so long. Uh, but yeah, I'm back now. I still got one more tournament to train for, but I am getting awesome new equipment. And like I said, I'm getting that green screen so you guys don't have to see my messy room. But that's it, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.